What's up, everybody, and welcome to Stoniecast number 74 and season 3, episode 7 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. It's your boy Stony back for the 74th time, and I'd like to welcome my fellow hoodlums, cheats, lowlifes, hustlers, scumbags, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, fienders, and degenerates. I've been in Phoenix all week. I just got off the plane about an hour ago. I finished up my mini script here and who I like this week on the plane. So I'm home, I'm doing this, and we're going to get after it, right? Now, here's the thing. If you're new to the show, welcome, first of all, and make sure to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner so you can be notified every time I put out a new video. Right now, that's usually on Friday evening. Last week was a battle, and we hung in there, right, to get another winning week. That now makes 5 winning weeks out of 6 so far, right? So we're solid. College football was a rough start, but we got hot in the afternoon and closed strong by hitting the degenerate special again to get to 5-1 on the season and 11-7 for the week in college, right? 5-1 on the season for degenerate specials. But 11-7 for the week in college football, which we will gladly take. The NFL was not much easier, and we had plenty of issues, but once again, closed strong by hitting our last 3 plays, the late game on Sunday, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game, to get to 8-6-1 on the week. That's solid, too. I'll take that. That's the second straight week we've gone 8-6-1 in the NFL. Anyway, here are the numbers from the week, from last week. 19-13-1 overall. That's 59.37%. Bingo, bango, bongo. I'll take it every single week. NCAA football, like I said, 11-7 on the week. 68-31-1 so far this season. Good for 68.69%. Again, that's now 99 plays. That's 100 plays, basically. And I challenge anybody in any sport to bet 100 games and hit at a 68% clip. Challenge. All right? Try it. Can't be done. Except for your boy. NFL last week. 8-6-1. Second straight week. Whatever. We'll take it. It's a winning week. 33-26-2 on the season now. Good for 55.93%. So overall right now we're looking at 101 wins, 57 losses, and 3 pushes. That's 63.92%. Please, 158 plays, and I'm at 63, just under 64%. Yeah, I've been delivering. You're welcome. I'm watching Memphis versus Houston right now because we're about 10 minutes away from the first pitch of the Mets and the Phillies. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, about 10 minutes away from first pitch between the Mets and the Phillies. Mets and Padres, game 1. So I'll be flipping over there. But anyway, that's what I'm just kind of keeping my eye on. So what do we do now? Except move on to week 7 and start firing early and often on tomorrow's NCAA matchups. Noon Eastern time. 3-2 Purdue heads to College Park to take on 4-1 Maryland. Maryland's 3-point chalk. Somehow Maryland's 4-1 after last week's win over Michigan State, and their offense is moving the ball well. Tomorrow they take on dreaded Purdue, who's 3-2 after knocking off Minnesota from the likes of the unbeaten last week's in Stoniapolis. Maryland may have the hot hand right now, but the spoiler makers are called that for a reason. Give me the road dog here. Also noon Eastern time. There's a lot of good matchups tomorrow, by the way, noon Eastern time. So get up early and fire early. Another noon Eastern game. Lawrence, Kansas. 5-0 Kansas, 19th ranked, versus 4-0 TCU, 17th ranked. TCU comes in as 7-point chalk in Lawrence. Now, KU comes in not only unbeaten, but they're now ranked for the first time this year. They knocked off a tough Iowa State squad, and now they face a red-hot TCU squad coming to town. Following two impressive W's over SMU and Oklahoma, the Horned Frogs offense is rolling right now, and their defense will be enough to keep KU at bay. Give me the Frogs at home and lay 'em. Excuse me. Give me the Frogs on the road and lay 'em. Noon Eastern Time, Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma, 3-2, Choklahoma as they're starting to be known as, versus 3-2 Texas. Texas is 7-point chalk. It's the Red River Shootout. That's right, Red River Rivalry, whatever they call it now. It's always been the shootout, but you can't say shootout anymore because that's bad because that implies guns. Anyway, Texas has flip-flopped their wins and losses so far and are coming off a very nice win over West Virginia last week. And they're facing an Oklahoma squad that is a mess right now. And it's coming off 2 straight blowout losses. Now's the time to buy low on Oklahoma as the confidence factor is completely gone. But in this rivalry, I'll take the points all day long. Noon Eastern Time, Baton Rouge. 4-1 LSU is ranked 25th. Really? Am I reading that right? Yeah, I guess I am. LSU's ranked. Don't know how, but they're ranked. Anyway, they're ranked, and they're facing 4-0, 8th ranked Tennessee. Tennessee comes in as 3-point chalk. Saturdays in the South. The 3 F's, baby. Faith, family, and football. LSU has a number next to their name, but that's because their 2 conference W's have come over Mississippi State at home at night and last week at Auburn, though they failed to cover. Remember that. Got us a win. UT comes into Baton Rouge for a noon kickoff, which only helps the Vols even more as both teams hit the rough part of their SEC schedules now. The Vols are clearly the better team, and while their defense is a little shaky, the Chinese Bandits just have a putrid offense and won't be able to keep up with the numbers that UT is going to hang. Road chalk here. Lay 'em. Noon Eastern Time, Starkville, Mississippi. Mississippi State, 23rd ranked and 4-1, is 8-point favorites over 3-2 Arkansas. The Bulldogs have won 4 straight games and are ranked, but who've they beaten? Memphis, Arizona, Bowling Green, and A&M aren't exactly world beaters, and Texas A&M especially is struggling after Mississippi State took them apart last week. Their only loss was to an LSU team that nobody believes in, let's face it. Arkansas blew a lead to A&M 2 weeks ago and gave Bama all they could handle until the Tide pulled away in the 4th quarter last week. I like Mississippi State to get the W, but I like the Hogs to get the cover, possibly through the back door. That's a big number, especially in conference play. I'll take the Hogs. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Stillwater, Oklahoma, 4-0, 7th ranked Okie State is 9-point chalk over 3-2 Texas Tech. Texas Tech has been my squad this year and has got me some early covers so far. But K-State got the Cowboys last week, got them good, and covered the number. Tomorrow, the Raiders have their work cut out for them, as Okie State had questions about who they'd beaten so far until last week's impressive takedown at Baylor. I'm sold on the Pokes now, as their offense is only improving to last year's level, and their defense is really getting good. Home favorite as 9 points may seem like many, but I see the Pokes scoring early and often. Give me Okie State. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Pasadena, California, the Rose Bowl. Record-wise, good matchup. 5-0 UCLA, 18th ranked UCLA, my Bruins, versus 4-1 and 11th ranked Utah. The Utes come in as 4.5-point favorite. The Bruins have scratched out a 5-0 mark for the first time in 7 years behind an offense that seems to always be late starting. They can't get it going until midway through the second quarter, but they've dominated the middle quarters, right? They really has. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, the quarterback. Him and Zach Charbonnet lead an impressive UCLA attack, but Utah comes to town as a team that lost at Florida in week 1 and have ripped off 4 straight blowout covers since. I would say ride with the hot hand, but they're both hot right now. As much as it pains me to go against my Bruins, I like the Utes' balance here behind their impressive O-line. Lay them on the road and take the Utes. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami. The Canes, 2-2 versus the 4-1 Tar Heels. Great rivalry matchup here. The Canes are 3.5-point favorites. But the Canes are a mess right now. I mean, let's be real. Back-to-back losses to A&M and Middle Tennessee State did Miami no favors, and now they've got Mac Brown's offense coming to town as dogs. After losing to Notre Dame 2 weeks ago, the Heels bounced back strong last week with a thorough beatdown of Virginia Tech. Tomorrow won't be as easy, but I'm loving the Heels in this spot as a road dog, so take them with the points, and don't be afraid to dabble on the money line either. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Tempe, Arizona, where I just left. Valley of the Sun. Arizona State's 1-4, Washington's 4-1, and the Huskies come in as 14-point chalk. Believe me when I tell you that the Valley, which I just came from, is down on both their NFL Cardinals and the Sun Devils. ASU has one win over Northern Arizona back in week 1, and that seems like an eternity ago. And they've just been pummeled ever since. After losing thoroughly last week to UCLA, I expect Washington to get back to normal this week, and the Devils are the exact team to get healthy against. Huskies roll. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, right down the road from here, Nashville, Tennessee. 9th-ranked Ole Miss comes in. They're 5-0, and they're 18-point favorites over 3-2 Vandy. After 3 blowout wins to start the season, Ole Miss has had 2 straight scares, but they've survived to get Lane Kiffin's bunch to 5-0 and securely in the top 10. They'll win easily tomorrow now, but don't sleep on Vandy in this spot. The Commodores' only 2 losses have been to Alabama and Wake Forest, and have somehow managed to win 3 games already, which is a shock. I like the Doors in this one with all those points, while Ole Miss wins, but the Doors get the cover. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Ames, Iowa. K-State versus Iowa State. K-State's ranked 20th, and they're 4-1 and 2-point favorites over 3-2 Iowa State. I still don't know what to make of this K-State teams, so far. We know that Deuce Vaughn is the truth and is a running machine. But Adrian Martinez? Really? After spending about 9 years, it seems like, at Nebraska, where he just did nothing but turn the ball over, he took advantage of the COVID year and wound up in the Little Apple, where he's been tearing it up. And I still don't understand how. He's like 37 years old and he's still in college. 2 massive performances in a row in wins over Texas Tech and Oklahoma have the Wildcats ranked, though, right? But there's the loss to Tulane that really stands out to me, right? That's what makes this team so perplexing, right? Iowa State's last 2 L's came to Kansas and Baylor. I have no problem with either of those, so I'll take the Clones catching 2 in a chunk on the road. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, La La Land, the LA Mausoleum. 6th-ranked USC is 5-0 and 13-point favorites over 4-1 Washington State. SC's undefeated and ranked 6, but who've they played? In their only real test of the season so far, they came from behind and beat a very good Oregon State squad up in Corvallis 2 weeks ago, where nobody seems to win. Aside from that, the men of Troy built their resume off wins against the likes of Arizona State, Rice, Fresno State, and Stanford, who all stink. All of them. Washington State, on the other hand, is playing like last season was no fluke. And they've rebounded nicely from their tight loss 2 weeks ago to Oregon with a pretty thorough beatdown of Cal last week. This is a big number against a good Cougar defense for SC to try and cover, so I'll take the road dog here and give me the Cougs. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame is 2-2 and 3.5-point favorites over 16th-ranked 4-1 BYU. After a loss to Marshall dropped the Irish to 0-2, they've rebounded nicely with wins over Cal and North Carolina as the health of the Irish is coming around along with their offense. Tomorrow, under the lights of Touchdown Jesus, a very dangerous BYU squad comes to town with a 4-1 record. I like the Cougars in this game to knock off the Irish, so not only should you take the 3 and a hook, but jump on the money line as well. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Raleigh, North Carolina. Florida State is 4-1, and they head into Raleigh to take on 4-1 and 14th ranked NC State. Now, both teams opened 4-0 before suffering setbacks last week. The Noles lost to Wake Forest, and the Wolfpack dropped one to Clemson. Really no harm, no foul in either of those losses. FSU, while improving, still isn't very good for some reason. Where NC State is very dangerous, and every week that passes, quarterback Devin Leary continues to improve. I like the Pack here at home in what should be an easy cover. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Top-ranked 5-0 Alabama, 24-point favorites over 3-2 A&M. In a primetime matchup in the SEC, the 3-2 Aggies look to get right after a disappointing loss last week at home to Mississippi State. The health of Bama's starting quarterback and reigning Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young is the question all week. And we know that he's a game-time decision, according to Nick Saban. But we saw what the Tide are capable of last week as they ran all over Arkansas and put up 550 yards of offense without Bryce Young, primarily on the ground. With all the offseason drama between these two programs, between Saban and Fisher, don't expect Saban to go easy on his buddy Jimbo. Take the Tide, lay him, and cash that ticket. And learn from me, because last week I bet against them, and Arkansas gave them all they could handle, but in the end, Bama still cashed. 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time, Boise, Idaho. 1-3 Fresno State goes up to Boise to take on a 3-2 Broncos squad that is a 7-point favorite. Fresno State won their first game against a high school team, and they played Oregon State very tough in their second. Since then, USC hammered the Bulldogs as expected, but last week was a new low, and Fresno was knocked off by a truly awful UConn squad. Right? Now they got to try to win on the Smurf turf. Not going to happen. Boise rebounded from a head-scratching loss 2 weeks ago to UTEP by bouncing San Diego State early last week. The offensive firepower Boise has here is way too much for Fresno to deal with, so we're going to take the home chalk here. 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Stanford, The Farm, Palo Alto. Stanford's 1-3, Oregon State's 3-2, and this is the Week 7 Degenerate Special. And it features Stanford again this week for the second straight time, as we put our 5-1 D-Gen record on the line. Stanford's lone win this season was over Colgate in Week 1, and since then have been, they've been through. They've been through the ringer in allowing 40 points to USC, Washington, and Oregon, right? Now, that's a tough 3-game stretch, but Oregon State's no joke. They head to the Farm after losing to SC and Utah in consecutive weeks. Stanford is just the team to get right against, and I see the Beavers cruising here on the late night to close out our NCAA slate. Hopefully we won't need it, but it's there, just in case. So that's 17 NCAA plays for that ass to keep up the hot streak going. 10 wins are fine with us, but 11 or 12 would really make a statement. Now let's move on to Week 5 in the NFL. After last night's horrifying display of professional football, we start our NFL week 0-1 as the Colts and Broncos stunk it up so bad last night that it was just unwatchable. The line only moved to 3.5, so I laid them and got burned, and the Broncos have to be wondering why the hell they gave Russell Wilson all that money. I heard someone say today, should they let Russell cook, or is Russell cooked? Now already a game in the red, we got to start we got to get going. So let's get started with the bulk of the action. 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, London, England, across the pond. On paper, good matchup. 3-1 Giants, 3-1 Packers. Packers are 8.5-point favorites. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It was the site of a great one last week when the Saints double doink off the goalpost wasn't enough to take down the Vikes. Well, we're back in London for another early start that looks nice, like I said, on paper, but as 2 3-1 squads are matched up, the jury's still out on the Giants as to how good their 3-1 mark really is. Danny Turnovers has been banged up and limited in practice all week with a bum ankle, but he's going to give it a go. Even if he were healthy, I would still like the Pack, even if they burned me last week with a pathetic showing over New England and their third-string quarterback. Give me the Pack and Lamb. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Orchard Park, New York. 3-1 Bills, 2-touchdown, 14-point chalk versus the 1-3 Steelers. We knew the season would be a tough one for Pittsburgh, right? But not even I saw them being this bad. The bottom line is that their O-line is in shambles, and whether it's Trubisky or Pickett, it's Pickett, by the way, Pittsburgh ain't going to do much this year until they get Najee Harris going. Since that's not going to happen on Sunday on the road in Orchard Park, the Bills will have no trouble in dispatching the Steelers early in a game that's going to get ugly. Some may say the Bills have got exposed the last 2 weeks against Buffalo and against Miami and aren't as good as the Super Bowl favorites that they've been made out to be since the offseason. But the bottom line is they'll still be 4-1 after another easy win in front of a raucous Bills Mafia. Lay all 14 of them here, people. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. The 2-2 Browns versus the 2-2 Chargers. The Chargers come in as 2.5-point road favorites. Jacoby Brissett has been exactly who he thought he'd be through 4 weeks as the placeholder for Deshaun Watson. He's been solid. Sometimes better than average and sometimes below average. We know that Cleveland is going to run the shit out of the ball as much as they can. And the Chargers are matched up pretty well to at least keep Chubb and Hunt at bay. But where Cleveland's defensive weakness is against the run, it seems like the perfect opportunity for the Chargers to get Austin Eckler going finally, so Justin Herbert doesn't have to carry the load. Now, we know he can, and he will if he has to, but Eckler only helps. The best player on either team, right, he's the X factor, and he's slowly getting his health back. He's just going to get better. Lamb, give me the Chargers. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bears, Vikings in Stoniep's, Minnesota. Vikings are 3-1. Bears are 2-2. Vikes come in as 7.5-point favorites. They're 3-1, the Vikes. And aside from their offensive weaponry that's been on full display so far, their defense is improving. The Bears are just a mess. And they've played much worse than their 2-2 record would indicate. This is the type of game that the Vikings should win by 2 touchdowns at home. But they never do as they continue to play to the level of their competition. With that being said, Vikings win, but Bears cover. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The big razor blade. Gillette Stadium. 1-3 New England versus 1-3 Detroit. Patriots are 3-point favorites. With the increasing likelihood that Mac Jones is a gopher this Sunday, the Sharps pounced on the Pats at 1.5 to get it up to a field goal. While this one has the makings of a game that's decided by a field goal in either direction, I'm going to take the Lions catching 3 again on the road, even if they burned me last week. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Dome, Sweet Dome, the Superdome. The Saints, New Orleans. The Saints are 1-3, the Seahawks are 2-2, and the Saints are 5.5-point favorites. Now, the Saints came out of the gate looking pretty good to start the season, but reality's caught up with them with 3 straight losses. The Seahawks have defied expectations so far to the tune of a 2-2 record, and while they seem due for a stinker on the other side of the country, Geno Smith hasn't been awful, and Rashad Penny has been very good coming out of the backfield. Give me the Seahawks in the Big Easy, catching 5 in a chunk, since they don't have to win in order to cash. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Snoopyville in New Jersey. The 2-2 Jets and the 3-1 Dolphins. The Dolphins head into Jersey as 3-point favorites. With Zach Wilson now back as QB1 for the Jets, he energized his squad with some late-game theatrics in a last week's win to get the Jets even on the season. The Jets are now priced too high, period. The Finns have nothing but Tua's health they've been dealing with. Nothing but Tua's health for a bit now. And while Teddy Two Gloves may not be a great quarterback, he's a serviceable backup that can get the ball to Miami's weapons on the wings. The Finns have won 6 straight, 9 of the last 10 in the series. Now's the time to buy low on Miami. Lay them. 1 touchdown Memphis to close out the first quarter. Sorry, Memphis just took a 14-0 lead. Let me see here. Yeah, there we go. Padres Mets, game 1. Sorry. So yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Tampa, Florida. 2-2 Falcons versus 2-2 Bucks. The Bucks are 10-point favorites. I've said all along that I'm not a big fan of Falcons back Cordarrelle Patterson, but he hasn't been bad this season. Now he's on the IR, and that takes a big weapon away from Marcus Mariota, who I've liked. The Falcons had a chance to cover this big number, but the Bucks are getting healthy. And if you buy the fact that Brady has a bum shoulder, then you're just an idiot, period. He's fine, and the Bucks will be fine. There's no way they drop to 2-3. But can they cover the touchdown and a half? We'll see. I say yes. 1 p.m. Eastern time, FedEx Field, Landover, Maryland. The 2-2 Titans head up as 2-point favorites to our nation's capital to take on the Commanders at 1-3. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will fucking Robinson. Trap City, USA hits us here as the clear favorite is such short chalk on the road against a bad team. Now, I live in Nashville, and I see and hear all about the Titans. They're known for playing to the level of their competition. That's what they do. After 2 straight wins got them out of an 0-2 hole, they'll head to our nation's capital and lay an egg against a team that hasn't gotten anything all season. They haven't gotten anything going at all. Offensively. This Sunday is the only Sunday that Carson Wentz will play well, and the Skins / Commandos escape with an outright W. Can anyone say money line? 1 p.m. Eastern time, Duval, Jacksonville, Duval County. The 2-2 Jags are 7-point favorites over the 0-3-1 Texans. This had the makings of a stinker last year. But the Jags have been a nice story so far this season. As Trevor Lawrence is looking like the truth. And a very young defense that was built on lots of high draft choices is starting to pan out and play really well. I mean, Javel has been so good that they're actually 7-point chalk. I want to know when the last time that happened. We knew Houston would be a train wreck. And while they didn't play too badly to start the season, their lack of talent is catching up to them. But I still like the touchdown, though. And Davis Mills is sneaking through the back door to cash that ticket late. 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. The Panthers are 1-3. The Niners are 2-2, and the Niners are 6.5-point road favorites. The Panthers are a late Atlanta touchdown last week away from having all 4 of their games being decided by 1 score so far this season. So they've battled. While Carolina has been outgunned, they've hung in every game so far. We all saw the Niners on Monday night keep the defending Super Bowl champs out of the end zone in a thorough beatdown of the Rams. The Niners defense might be the NFL's best, period. But Kyle Shanahan just simply owns Sean McVay, and that's a fact. The Niners are overvalued here, coming off a short week and a win over a team that they beat regularly and now have to travel cross-country. Niners win, Panthers cover. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, SoFi Stadium in La La Land. Rams versus Cowboys. 2-2 Rams are 5.5-point chalk against the 3-1 Cowboys. Cooper Rush has been the talk of the NFL so much that it drives ESPN crazy in a sense that they can't spend as much time glorifying Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers. America's team will always be the fan favorite and will always be overvalued. That's just a fact. The Rams are undervalued right now after getting throttled on Monday night in Silicon Valley. The odds makers opened the Rams at 7, and the public has bet that down to 5.5 because they think Cooper Rush is never going to lose another game, and the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl, right? Wrong. Rams roll by at least 2 touchdowns here. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, Glendale, Arizona, where I just left. 2-2 Cardinals, 4-0 Eagles. Eagles -5. Eagles are the best team of all time and will go undefeated in their march to a Super Bowl title. Wrong. They travel cross country to take on a dangerous Cardinal team that has had its ups and downs so far, and try to cover a 5-point number? Not going to happen. I like the Cards here as a home pup catching 5. 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time, M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland. 2-2 Ravens, 2-2 Bengals. Ravens are 3.5-point home chalk. The Ravens shot out of the gates this season behind a very physical defense and the return of the MVP version of Lamar Jackson. Lately, though, their defense hasn't been able to hold late leads, as Miami and Buffalo both caught them with their draws down and stole victories. Sorry. Since he started out like shit, but have now beaten the Jets and Finns soundly as they round into the team that looks like the defending AFC champs. Ravens win with a late Justin Tucker field goal, but God, do I love that hook. Give me the Tigers and the points. Monday night. That was the Sunday night game, by the way. That Bengals-Ravens game. That was the Sunday night game. Monday night football. Dun, 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 dun. Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City. Mo. The 3-1 Chiefs are 7-point favorites over the 1-3 Raiders. Ooh, who was that? Somebody just took... You hear that? Somebody just went deep. Oh, Josh Bell. Are you kidding me? The guy that nobody wanted, Washington, he was a throw-in the Juan Soto deal. Just. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Sorry about this, but I'm watching. Okay, there was the pitch away, and then, oh, man. He went El Centro off of Scherzer and flipped the bat in Scherzer's ass. Wow. Oh, man. That was impressive. That was really impressive. 2-0 Pods as those freaking New Yorkers are just stunned. Hands on their heads. Oh, my God. What are we going to do? The first inning. Scherzer just got freaking pounded. All right. Chiefs are 7-point favorites over the Raiders. Patrick Mahomes is another one of the wonder quarterbacks that ESPN can't get enough of. And he's been excellent, but not nearly as good as he probably should have been. A lone Super Bowl win that was gifted to the Chiefs by Jimmy G's inability to complete a pass with a 10-point fourth quarter lead accounts for the only title in Mahomes' resume, which ESPN told you would have 4 by now. He's been fine this year, but as usual, he has his lulls. Derek Carr has been just fine, and he's not the Raiders' problem. The Raiders are clearly the best 1-3 team you've ever seen. I know it's Arrowhead, and it's Monday night, and I know the Chiefs will win, but the Raiders ain't going to go quietly. I like the road dog to close out the week. And next Thursday, to kick off week 6 of the NFL season, we have a true shit show of a game, which could be worse than the disaster that we saw last night. The Commandos and the Bears meet in the Windy City, with the Commando Skins being a light 1-point road favorite. Again, like I said last week, if this number is lower than a pick or higher than Washington -2, this pick won't count. But in the meantime, I'm going to roll with the Redskins. Yeah, I said Redskins, you PC some bitches. Now with the MLB wild card going off today, we have some interesting betting matchups. Now I know that by the time this game gets to you, 3 of the 4 game ones will have finished, and the last one is going on right now. But here are my picks for the wild card series. These are series prices and series winners. Mets Padres, the one we're watching right now. Mets -185, Padres +150. God, I would love to take the Pods. I really would. At +150 and grab some value. But in a short 3-game series, can San Diego possibly be expected to knock off Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer? I mean, yeah, they got a pretty good start here off of Scherzer. But even if they get to one of them tonight, which would feel like a big deal for the Pods, the Mets are clearly the better team. And I'm going to roll with the chalk here at $1.85. Cardinals, Phillies. Cardinals 135. Phillies are even money. In what could be a very good series, the steady Cards are a slight favorite over the Jekyll and Hyde Phils. When the Phils are hot, they look like world beaters, and their pitching is as good as anyone's. The Cards have a slow and methodical ascent to the NL Central Division crown and are the clear favorites with a rejuvenated Albert Pujols as the media favorite to advance. Can you imagine if the Cards get bounced in the wild card series and that's it for Albert? I can. Give me the Phils at plus 110. Excuse me, not plus 100. It was plus 110 at the start of the series. AL wildcard series. Guardians minus 120. Rays even money. October's favorite team is back again as the Rays take another shot with their low payroll to try and become world beaters. The good news for them in the first round, though, is that they don't have to be world beaters right off the bat. The guards, somehow they're being called, got hot late to snatch the AL Central from Minnesota and the White Sox. And they have a great combination of pitching and hitting. And as the youngest team in the bigs, I like Cleveland to get by Tampa in a tough series. Blue Jays minus 165. Mariners plus 140. No surprise here that not only are the Jays back in October, but an early favorite too. A solid season for Toronto left no doubt as to whether or not they would make the playoffs. But they will certainly have their hands full with the upstart Mariners, who damn near made the playoffs last year, but turned around and had an even better season this year. At plus 140, you'd be a fool not to even entertain Seattle here. And while I'm not going to predict how far they'll go, I do see them getting past Toronto in round one to at least move on to the ALDS. Now, as far as tomorrow, Saturday, there are 4 more game 2s to jump on. And at the time I'm recording this right now, there's only lines out for 3 of them because the Yu Darvish is now winding for the Padres. It's Darvish and Scherzer in game 1. So there's no line out for game 2 for that one, right? But anyway, here we go. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, Cleveland minus 115 versus Toronto minus 105 in Cleveland. Shane McClanahan was just as good as Shane Bieber was today. But the home run that McClanahan allowed was a 2-run jack that led the Tribe to a win. Tomorrow, it's Tristan McKenzie for Cleveland against Tyler Glasnow for the Jays. Now, Glasnow, he has the postseason pedigree, but he's been unreliable this season, period. Give me the Guards to end it in a quick 2-game sweep tomorrow with a surprisingly good McKenzie on the bump. Excuse me. So, oh my God, I just coughed. I might have COVID, you freaking California knuckleheads. 4 p.m. Eastern time, Tampa Bay minus 161 versus Seattle plus 135 in Toronto. The Jays turn their season over to Kevin Gausman after dropping game 1 without even scoring a run at home today off of Luis Castillo. Seattle counters with Robbie Ray, who obviously knows his surroundings after winning the AL Cy Young last year as a member of the Jays. I'm partial towards Ray because he's a Nashville native. He grew up playing ball with Mookie Betts here in Music City. But I really like Gausman in Toronto to get the W in Game 2 and even the series to a Game 3 decider come Sunday. 9:30 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern Time, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. The Phillies, minus 115. The Cardinals, minus 105. The Cards got 8 lights-out innings from Jose Quintana and 2 relievers today to take a shutout into the 9th, where Ryan Helsley lost the strike zone. And 2 great glove men, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt, made some bad plays as the Phils got a win in Game 1 with 6 in the 9th. Tomorrow, Miles Mikolas takes the bump for the Cards, and Aaron Nola counters for Philly. St. Louis has more than Philly and have been way more consistent, like I said above. But after today, I see Nola sending St. Louis home early. Albert, it's been a pleasure watching you. Have a good retirement. So is that enough for you? That now makes 17 NCAA plays, all 16 NFL plays, even though we're 0-1 going into the weekend. 4 MLB wildcard series picks, and 3 more individual wildcard plays just for tomorrow. That's a total of 40 picks for the weekend. Now, 24 wins would be just fine with us. But the more we gather, the more we can hammer away at the books for a huge weekend. So just remember, if you want to win big, you got to bet big. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.